Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Ham Radio Basics Live, Season 4, Episode 27, Ham Radio News and Updates, 7/8/2026. Hope everyone is doing well today. Cooley said he's not going to be here. He has a family function. Go for it, Cooley. That's always good. But thank you so much for checking in. I hope you're doing well. Got a real interesting topic to talk about today, but before I get to that, if you get a chance to, out on Ham Radio Basics, either out on X or out on Facebook, if you're part of the group, if you could drop a happy birthday to Val. My wife's name is Valerie. Today just happens to be her birthday, okay? And her birthday almost coincided with our granddaughter's birthday, and hers is tomorrow on the 9th. So if you could give my beautiful wife a very happy birthday shout out, either out on X, or if you're out on Instagram, that's fine as well too, or the Facebook group, that would be great. She would really appreciate it. Best thing that's ever or will ever happen to me, that's for sure. But as like I said, I have two rules in life. Whatever my wife says in rule number 2, refer to rule number 1. So those are my two rules, and I have a happy life because of that. So just wanted to let you guys know that. Thank you, Sergeant Rock. Appreciate that. Glad you stopped by today. Thanks for stopping by last night on Rotor Talk. Always a pleasure having you guys on. Today we're going to talk about something. Everybody talks about POTA, okay, and why not? I mean, it's one of the more fun things to do with ham radio. It keeps you active, it keeps you involved, it keeps you sharp. It keeps your gear up to speed and keeps you up to speed and everything. But not a lot of people talk about SOTA, okay? And well, with good reason, especially in the state of Florida, because, well, we really don't have any summits here, unless it's about a 200 or 300 foot hill. So, those don't exist here. Excuse me. So today, what I thought I'd like to do would be to go ahead and go through a top 10 list of things you may not know about SOTA. So let me go ahead and bring that up here. And there we go, okay? Top 10 facts you may not know about SOTA. Summits on the Air, SOTA combines amateur radio, hiking, and adventure. Worldwide operating program, great for QRP, an outdoor challenge, and improves portable skills. One of the things that I wanted to say before we get into the slides here is it is not for the faint of heart. In other words, you do need to be in shape when you're doing a Summits on the Air, because you have to climb. You may be walking for 2, 3, or more hours to get up to the summit. So you have to be physically in shape. And obviously, if you're in this wonderful age that we're in, make sure it's okay with your doctor. Double check with them always, because the last thing you want to do is halfway up there and all of a sudden you're gassed or worse, and it's going to be difficult to get help, kind of a thing. You don't want to do that. So that's my first piece of advice regarding SOTA, is make sure that you're physically fit, and you really do need to be physically fit here. So let's go ahead and get into the slides here. The first one, only 4 contacts. Now, only 4 valid QSOs are needed for an activation. Any band, any mode, mixed modes count, and more contacts welcome. And that's different from POTA. And that's a wonderful thing. And ignore the POTA that's on top of her radio right there. ChatGPT did a wonderful thing, but it didn't change that. That's different from POTA. And they're kind of cutting you a break for, the 2 or 3 hours or more that you have to get up to the summit. They're kind of cutting you a break in terms of the number of contacts here. And 4 valid QSOs, any band, any mode, mixed modes, the more the merrier as far as that's concerned. But it's nice that they kind of relaxed that. They kind of cut you a break, because you've worked real hard just to get up to the summit, so they're cutting you a break in terms of just needing to get 4 valid contacts for an activation. So that's pretty cool. Now, activation zone. Operate within the activation zone. About 25 vertical meters. Verify the rules. Use GPS and choose a safe location. Obviously, wait, these pictures are done by ChatGPT, and that's not really a very safe location, but, it's kind of to get the idea of, you're not on the ground, okay? You're up on a mountain or a mountaintop or close to a mountaintop when you're doing these activations. And one of the things, and kind of tongue in cheek, I mean, that's where that setup is real precarious. But what you want to do is when you're scoping these summits on the air out, when you're doing your homework ahead of time, and there's going to be a top 10 list on that as well too, on preparing to do SOTA. You want to pick summits that have a larger area up at the top, so you can maybe bring a very small portable table with you or small chairs and get set up there, because sitting on the ground for 2 or 3 hours when you're doing this probably isn't the most comfortable thing in the world. And, it could still have precipitated, ground could be wet, and, it would be really good to scope them out ahead of time. And a lot of those summits are, okay? They're very friendly for SOTA. But you need to go out, you need to do your homework, you need to check them out before you go. And that's one of the things that's going to be on a top 10 list about that. Hint, hint. That's going to be coming up. And choose a safe location. Obviously, like I said, tongue in cheek, that's not a safe location, okay? That's an example of not a safe location to go to. But you want to be very careful. You want to have plenty of room before, there's any kind of an issue. You want to set up to where you're comfortable, and if somebody else is coming with you, they're comfortable as well too. Make it so it's real easy and it's not going to be a burden on you. But and the other thing to be saying that use GPS. Obviously, bring a Garmin with you. I have a Garmin, and it's invaluable in instances like this if you're doing SOTA. Now, I've never done SOTA before. Being that I live in the state of Florida, chances are pretty good of next to none that I won't be doing SOTA anytime soon. But I have a Garmin that does have precise GPS location, and that's something that you need. Now, the Garmin that I have, I forget the model number of it. It also has an SOS feature. It doesn't have quote-unquote satellite, direct communication, but it will send an SOS out from your GPS location where you're at with pre-made, predefined text messages, which is real nice. And I got a great deal on that. So yeah, having GPS on SOTA, that's one of those key things that need to be in your backpack when you're packing for SOTA. And hint, they'll probably be on a top 10 list sometime soon. So let's go on to the next slide here. Okay. No driving. Final ascent is human powered. Hike, bike were allowed, no vehicles, and follow trails. You can see this group's getting ready to go on a summit, and the signs there, average time to the summit from here is 4.5 hours. So be wary. I mean, a lot of these summits are not, 45 minutes or an hour. I mean, they're 2 hours, 3 hours up there, and these are good hikes. And you can see they all have walking sticks, which is probably a good idea no matter what age you're at. And will definitely make a difference. But yeah, you want to be real mindful of that. That's part of the rules. The whole idea for summits on the air is that you're physically fit and that you can get up to that summit. So that's why, hence, there's you have to be on your own on human powered to get up to the summit. Let's go on to the next one here. Now, summit points. Every summit has a point value. Rated from 1 to 10 points. They're association-based, whatever association that you're with. Plan ahead and track your totals. That's why logging is a little different for SOTA. I'm not familiar with it, so I'm not going to tell you what's up with that. But logging is a little different because their point system is a little different, and you want to be mindful of that when you're doing that. But the logging software will help you keep track of your points, where you're at, and what's going on. Now, this depiction here that I use ChatGPT for, a lot of times when you get up to these summits, you're probably not going to see a whole lot up there because it's usually very cloudy. It could be foggy, and you won't have a good view up there. But, contrary to popular belief, when you're doing summits on the air, you're not up there for the view, okay? And I'm going to call it like it is. You're up there for the propagation, and you're going to have incredible propagation up there as far as that's concerned. So yeah, but you want to get some good SOTA tracking software, and of course, again, it's different than POTA tracking software, and I'm not familiar with it. Now I'll do some research, and I'll get some things out on the pages and let you guys know what the best software is to do tracking with SOTA. I really don't know myself. Again, a large part of that is due to the fact that we don't have any summits here in Florida. So, all right. Winter bonus. Some regions offer winter bonus points. Regional dates, cold weather prep, extra challenge, safety first. And you can see our person here is prepared for it. She's wearing a parka and has her backpack and is ready to go there. So you need to be prepared if you're going up there for it's winter. You need to be pack accordingly, and we're going to get to a slide that talks about packing your gear and what you need. But you need to be very mindful of the weather. You need to also be mindful of the conditions up there, and sometimes you need to defer to your better judgment and just not go if it's too cold, if there's too much snow coming down. You don't want to get yourself in a position you have to put others at risk to come rescue you. That's huge. So be mindful, understand, but there are some bonuses for going out there in winter. It's kind of like a mini winter field day, so to speak. So getting this ready in the cold is a lot different than when it's 85 out and sunny. So there's something to be said for the prep for that as well too. And of course, the bottom bullet point's the most important: safety first. You need to exercise that. If you're in doubt about it, wait and do it another day. Okay, here, chasers. Home stations earn awards too, and can work activators, collect points, online tracking, and there's no hiking. You could see that someone's safe and sound in their ham shack right there, and being a chaser, and it's why not? I mean, if you can do that. Now, I've never done any chasers before. Waypoint New England, welcome. Good to see you this afternoon. Thanks for stopping by. I've never done any chasing on. I've done POTA, but I haven't done anything with SOTA. And SOTA is not as hard to find. I'm going to be real honest with you. When you're out there looking at the bands, you don't bump into a whole lot of SOTA contacts out there, but they are out there. And again, I'm not as familiar with the software or the setup as far as their website is concerned. I'm going to take a look at that, and we'll get into another top 10 list that goes over some of that material. But it's just as fun to do the chasing from inside your house, and where it's nice and comfy and cozy, and you can pull up a coffee or a Coca-Cola and sit back, relax, and enjoy it, and make some contacts and work them. And it should be fun. And it's a lot like, from what everybody tells me, I've talked to some people that have actually done some SOTA chasing, and it's every bit just as much as POTA. And probably the one thing that I have heard is you don't run into as many pileups because you don't have, obviously, as many people out there doing the activations. So that's why that ends up happening. But yeah, you can go ahead and do that just as well too. Okay. Obviously, higher elevations help propagation, and in this instance, you could take an ICOM IC705 out there and be able to work probably most of North America, and if not, and if the propagation's good, you may be able to hit Europe or Asia, depending upon where you're located at in the United States. So, it really does make a difference if you're up, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 feet. It's going to make a difference. You're gonna get some strong signals there, and DX common, and then efficient antennas. And what I did for this demo right here, it's a DX Commander vertical that's set up, and obviously, you really you need to have a vertical antenna when you're going up there, and a DX Commander is probably about the best you can get, although setup time for something like that is probably prohibitive unless you have multiple people coming with you and can help you with that setup. And I mean, it's a killer antenna. It'll get the job done. There'll be no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And of course, you want to make sure that, you got your SWR meter out there and that you're tuning it and you have enough radials down. And once you do that, you should be good to go. You should really make some good contacts, even even QRP. And if you're lucky enough to have hauled a IC 7300 and are going out at 100 watts, you're definitely going to make some overseas contacts. That's for sure. So, and it's a lot of fun. It really is. So you want to bring an antenna that's going to be efficient, like I said, like a DX Commander. But there are other verticals that are just as efficient. You want to make sure that one that's going to stand up to windy conditions. That's for sure, because it's not going to be 10 to 15 miles an hour like it is on the ground. It may be more like 25, 30, and you need to make sure the antenna is going to be able to handle those kind of conditions. That's for sure. Now here, light gear. Keep your pack lightweight. And I put some gear here kind of as an example. You can see there's an IC705. There's a handheld there. I also have a satellite radio there. There's coax, there's connectors, there's some snacks, there's paracord there, a first aid kit, and some other things. And obviously a battery, I said a battery as well too, and that's not pictured there. But you want to be real smart with the battery that you take, because obviously that's going to be a heavyweight item. So you need to pack accordingly. An end-fed half-wave antenna, yeah, bring it. I mean, you could set it up and do different things with it. Obviously, won't have trees up there, but you never know that it could happen. Vegetation could be growing on that summit, and you could set up an end-fed half-wave like you normally would be able to do. So, and then also too, your logging device, which would obviously be a laptop, and it would more than likely have to be independent. That software would have to be able to run on its own as long as you have electricity on the laptop. You should be good to go as far as that's concerned. But all in all, you need to pack smart. You need to pack as lightly as you can, and that's why it's always better, I think, for SOTA especially, to at least go with a minimum of 2 people. And one of my recommendations is that one of those 2 have a satellite phone, because emergencies happen, and when you're going up 2, 3, 4,000 feet and you're climbing a summit, not all these are walking trails. I mean, you have to do some climbing and things, and you got to be careful, and that's why you need to have some kind of backup communication type of thing. So that's why I included a satellite phone in my recommendation. That's just a recommendation. I mean, you can go without, but the more that you have, the better, as far as that's concerned. So, but yeah, the thing is, you want to try to keep them light, and you want to split it up between 2. If you have more than 2, if 3 or 4 are going, all the better. That makes carrying things a whole lot easier. Now, SOTA is worldwide, 100,000 plus summits, many countries. It's travel friendly, international awards, and always new goals. And that's the fun thing about SOTA. It's just like POTA. There are awards. There are all different kind of awards for that. And right now, there's been over 100,000 plus summits that have been activated since the start of SOTA, which is fantastic. That's incredible. And considering it's not an everyday occurrence that you're going to do a SOTA, and it's not an everyday occurrence you're going to get a hold of somebody that's doing a SOTA as well too. So it's really kind of special to get some of these awards and to work some of these people who are doing SOTA. I mean, POTA's a dime a dozen, and it's real easy to get those awards. I mean, I won't say it's really easy. It's great to be able to get those awards, and it's fairly straightforward, but it's not as straightforward with SOTA. It does require a lot of work, and it does require, some patience to be able to make some of these contacts. So, but again, it is a rewarding part of our hobby. And then number 1, Mountain Goat, okay? And you can see our person here has won a Mountain Goat award, and it's 1,000 activator points earns you a Mountain Goat. It's prestigious. It takes several years to do something like that. Every summit counts, and it's a major achievement. It's something, as far as in ham radio circles, it's highly recognized, and it's something that I think would not only look great on your desk, but it's something you can have some bragging rights as far as that's concerned. And I think it would be very cool to do something like that. But again, emphasis on as far as SOTA is concerned, you do need to be physically fit to be able to do soda. That's something that, I can't emphasize enough. And if you want to do it, make sure that you're in good health. And, last but not least, check with your doctor and make sure that you're healthy enough to do that, because it's a lot of physical exertion when you're doing something like that. Conclusion: soda is one of amateur radio's most rewarding activities. You plan well, like I said, as far as starts with the gear you're going to pack, going out and scoping out your summit sites and making sure there's a nice level area for you to set up when you get there, to be able to operate safely. Obviously, making sure that the weather is cooperative, because if it's torrential rains, or if it's very cold or very windy, or if you have a lot of snow, you need to take a pass on those kind of days. But then there's going to be a lot of nice days to be able to go out there as well, as you can depict it in the picture there. It looks like a fairly nice day for a light jacket and being able to get up there. So, plan accordingly. And, obviously you can change plans and flip things. Obviously, if a soda doesn't work on a given day, you can always end up doing a POTA as far as that's concerned. So, and have fun when you're doing it. And that's the whole point of soda, is to go out there, to have fun, to be able to see a lot of incredible views, and also be able to make some great contacts, because your propagation will be fantastic up there as well too. That's all I have for today, guys. I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you guys for stopping by. I really appreciate that. It was great. I had to set this up. I had an extremely busy day at work, and normally I get this set up a lot sooner, and I didn't today, and that's why I barely was able to get this out just on the Ham Radio Basics and on Ham Radio Divas. And by the way, welcome to the Ham Radio Divas watchers who are watching us as well too. They're now part of this, if you want to call it, simulcast on every Wednesday at 5 o'clock. So, but again, I want to thank each and every one of you. Sergeant Rock, thank you for stopping by. Waypoint, New England, thank you for stopping by. Cooley, hope you had a good event and enjoy watching the rebroadcast later. As always, guys, it's a great day to make a QSO. 7 3s, everybody. Catch you next week.